friends, good to see you again. So let's talk about people with the Sun in the inconjunction to Saturn. So when we have this aspect, we're struggling with confidence issues and issues surrounding self-support and guilt and duty and obligation. This is a hard aspect to break out of because the belief in owing others or being able to earn one's self-esteem through doing for others, this is so ingrained. The core belief is that one is not self-sufficient or lacks the abilities to ensure self-sufficiency. The confidence is greatly lacking in regards to what they feel that they can accomplish. The compensation for this lack is to work in jobs or to accept work that is beneath their actual abilities. The strength of the sun's solar power, that is personal creativity and self-expression, is strangled by Saturn when we have the inconjunction. Saturn is the planet that we need to break out of and find our source of self-power in order to gain liberty in life. And this is what causes self-esteem to come into the picture for these people, is this breaking out. So Saturn really exists to acquaint us with our free will, and he's restricting us and ordering us in order to teach us that lesson. We have to break free from the traditions of the past that are strangling growth and creativity when we have this aspect. And we have to admit what we really want. Even if that admission causes what we've worked so hard for to crumble, it's worth it. It's worth it to get to live honestly. And you have to admit what you really want to be doing with all hard aspects to Saturn. Obligating yourself to family or tradition or expectations is not going to earn you the right to do what you want. You can't earn your freedom through slavery. And when we have this aspect, we're so afraid to be our own master because we were not well prepared in the past, in our youth, to take responsibility for our life and really be able to withstand the fallout of consequences. Obligating yourself to work or family or everyone is actually a way to avoid taking responsibility for your choices. If you're in a place where your choices are not allowed, then you don't have to be humiliated by being wrong when you choose incorrectly. So you don't have to bear the brunt of the consequences for making decisions. So by humiliating oneself through servitude, there is this way that we think we're avoiding humiliation, but we are actually experiencing what it is that we are trying to avoid. So what happens is when we have this inconjunction, we tend to avoid success because we can't stand the thought of identifying as a failure, as a public failure. The identity thinks it's shirking responsibility for its existence by doing what others want. And there's this guilt for existing that really needs to be understood. You can't earn the right to exist by another bestowing that right upon you because you have pleased them or done right. you can't earn your freedom through slavery. The karmic tendrils are so strong with this inconjunction. The conditioning that we absorb before that first Saturn square at 7 years old, when our brains were absorbing, they were in a state of hypnosis. Because before we have that first Saturn square, we are taking in. We are not solid yet. So when we have that Saturn square to itself, everything solidifies. And that conditioning becomes our karma. It becomes our boundaries. And that is what we have to break out of the rest of our life, is that box that we know to be what we know. So when we have this aspect, we got to find our own way and make our own success. In spite of our fear, we have to break the cycle. Social security is what Saturn is urging us to build in life. He is that urge within us to create security in life through becoming a success, through showing up, by receiving the recognition that we feel makes us a solid adult. So one's solidity is deeply challenged with this inconjunction because of the fear of one's own power. And this is going to show up externally as a fear of the power that others have, and responding to that as being fearful yourself. We ingratiate ourselves to others to avoid their judgments and their wrath when we have this aspect. It's a way to protect one's identity from being exposed as actually selfish or powerful. The judgment that one holds against one's own solar power, that is what you want. What we want is our solar power. The judgment that we hold against that, our own authentic personal expression, that is the voice of the conditioning. And that is most likely the voice of the dominant parent, usually the father. You must throw off the chains of conditioning. You must begin to do what you want. The identity really needs to stretch to include yourself as a competitor, a worthy competitor. And it is appropriate to be selfish sometimes. We have to come to allow that to also be something that mixes in with the identity. We don't deny our own selfishness. So oftentimes people are avoiding competition because they don't feel that they can win. But they have every right to be in the race. You are not actually any weaker or less capable than any other competitor. It's just that you think that you are weaker or less able. That most often is not the case in real life when you look at the actual facts of the people who have this particular inconjunction. So the reality is that people with this aspect usually have some very strong characteristics, and they could make them a big success if they allow those characteristics to really exist without being embarrassed by them, without judging those characteristics as bad. So admitting what we really want can be fearful, because that can be embarrassing because not everybody is going to agree with it. It's a vulnerable thing to really admit what we want. Not everyone will accept us if we are real. That is a fact. We will have to accept that. If we are to live with integrity, we will have to accept that we're going to disappoint some people. We can't please everyone because everyone's going to want something different that is a reflection of their own identity. You have to be brave enough to admit that what you really want is what you really want, and then prepare the boat to be somewhat rocked. You will survive it. You will not drown. Saturn rewards us for rocking the boat. There will be a life preserver for you to stay afloat, and it will be made of your own ingenuity and ability and strength. You can do it. You are strong enough. You are enough. But you have to learn to see it. You have to learn to believe it by pushing through the inertia that hard aspects create. You can be more successful than other people. And you can have a life where you feel like you have reached the pinnacle of what it is that you really want to be and have. But you have to accept what you want. And you have to accept that going after it is going to cause a necessary individuation from your traditions and possibly your family obligations. You have to accept that you have some selfish tendencies and you feel guilty about those. And then we have to change our relationship with guilt. That's a big part of this. You have to really take in to consideration what is the relationship with guilt, and understand that guilt was a part of how you survived. It was part of the coping mechanism. And it was a good coping mechanism. It kept you as part of the group. It kept you as being rewarded. It kept you as being accepted. But that guilt is not going to help us or keep us safe as an adult. It's not going to keep us as part of the tribe as it did when you were young. It will have you be ostracized as an adult. So we have to let that old coping skill go and adjust the identity and understand that you're going to have to start to adjust your idea about yourself with your idea of success and bring those two things into alignment. So you're going to have to accept some successful ways of viewing yourself. And that's not a guilty thing to do. It shouldn't create more guilt within you. Often people with this aspect were a huge help around the house. They really ingratiated themselves to the people in their early life. And, they would take on other people's chores, take on other people's obligations. And that was a way to be seen as important, to gain appreciation. So the coping mechanism that developed around that was really about survival and acceptance and being part of the tribe. And it worked while we were young. But that coping skill has really outgrown its ability to deliver satisfying results as an adult. And we have to adopt a new coping skill that's going to allow us to deal with how we are sometimes not accepted by some people for being authentically ourselves, for going after what we really, really want, for being what we really want to be. So we have to adjust the identity. It's an inconjunction. There's going to be an adjustment. We have to adjust the identity to our idea of success. And we need to allow ourselves to be differentiated from each other, from other people, in order to attain that solar position. So we can find that solid, confident path towards success. We must push past conditioned tendencies to incorporate, to integrate the awareness that life offers us. We become aware by knowing ourselves well enough to give something up about ourselves. And we have to give up a belief about our identity, ourselves, how we want to be seen and appreciated. We really have to give something up there in order to see the truth about ourselves. And if we can give up that limiting belief and make that adjustment between our identity and our idea of success, then we're going to move past the chronic problems that it causes. Confidence is the reward and the ability to withstand pressure. We become our own leader if we can really push against the pattern of identifying as a follower. The personal significance will emerge and lead to a clear path to greater recognition. So I hope this was able to bring some amount of clarity to this difficult aspect that can absolutely be seen through. You can find me on the internet at truthinaspectastrology.com, Facebook, Instagram, other social media at Truth in Aspect Astrology. Yes, I do consultation, and I'm mainly a relationship and intimacy astrologer, but I interpret all types of charts. And please find me over on my website, truthinaspectastrology.com, where I have a subscription option there for subscribers. There is a private Facebook group for lots of connecting there, asking questions, live question and answers, and that's also on the website now as well. We'll be doing lots of live get-togethers there, and I do weekly videos, question and answer videos for subscribers as well, and all types of unique videos as well as teaching videos. So find us over there if you're interested in more awesome content, and I'll be back super soon with more super cool videos. Bye-bye.